my children now.
Welcome to the Dave Cave. I, as always, am Dave. And before we get started, if you're new here and you want to stay on top of all things horror and a little bit of heroes like reviews, rants, rankings, and reactions, hit that subscribe and ding the bell so you don't miss a minute. Today we're going to be continuing through the Nightmare on Elm Street series with one of the more divisive entries in the franchise, and that is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. Part 2 is directed by Jack Scholder, stars Mark Patton as Jesse, and Kim Myers as Lisa, as the kind of final girl-boy combo, really, when it gets to the end. And then back again, and this is the last time I'm going to mention him because he's in all these, Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. The movie follows an all-new character, Jesse Walsh, as he not only deals with being an outsider at school, he's also dealing with these horrendous nightmares he's having since he moved into his new house. And that new house just happens to be 1428 Elm Street, the former house of Nancy Thompson and her family. What that then leads to is dealing with Freddy, but dealing with Freddy in a very different way than Nancy had to. Part 2 makes some pretty interesting choices in terms of being a follow-up to the 1984 original, but there is plenty to love. So let's just dive into the good. For my first entry in the good column, it is the intro. I dig the intro in this movie. It feels a lot like the movie before it, but also it does its own thing. And really, in terms of the way the whole first dream sequence plays out, it's pretty terrifying. The way the bus gets taken over, and then they're just stuck at the back of the bus with Freddy coming towards them, and then all the crazy visuals that go around them. But what I also like about it is that if you follow the bus and you pay attention, Robert Englund is actually driving the bus. I love that touch. It's a great little touch that if you're not really paying attention or you don't care, you're not going to catch it. But it makes perfect sense then that this is all part of the dream and that the guy who is the bus driver would look like Freddy. And on top of all that, I like this intro because I've had very similar dreams dealing with Freddy that they have in this school bus scene. The ability of not getting away from him and that he's just walking towards you and you're stuck in a corner somewhere. I've had that dream. So that intro really works for me. For my second entry in the good column, it is the general concept of Jesse and Freddy fighting for Jesse's soul. I very much like the fact that it feels like it fits in the Nightmare series. It really does, but it's a left turn from what we got in the original. Where in the original, you had Freddy doing his thing. He's working a whole bunch of different people towards killing them. In this one, he's working Jesse into doing what he wants him to do. Where it gets a little fucky is the how. They don't really explain how or why Freddy needs Jesse. But it is that conflict going on and on and on that really drives the whole terror of all this, is the fact that Freddy is trying to take over this kid, and the fact that he finally does by the end of this movie. He takes over Jesse's body. But leading up to that, you have these scenes where it looks like he's going to kill his sister. Luckily, he doesn't. But then you get the whole pool party scene, and you get the ending, and he was inside Freddy's body. Very cool stuff, but damn, imagine that for a second. Freddy trying to take over your body and have you kill people for him, which he succeeds in doing many times in this movie. Shit. And with that concept, you have them really not retread any of the steps that they had before. There are little callbacks here and there. You get the don't fall asleep line, and really the Coach Snyder kill felt kind of like the Tina kill, but you get this completely new look on what it would be like in the Freddy universe if he went a different route. And with the Grady kill scene, you have this moment where you think Freddy has taken over Jesse. And you're like, damn, that really sucks. But then you find out that it's Jesse. And Jesse did it, and it's just another possession episode. And then Freddy taunts him about it. As Freddy gets stronger, he realizes Jesse's in the palm of his hand, and he can do whatever he wants with the kid. It taps into another thing like I like so much about the first one. Taps into the helplessness. For my third entry in the good column, it's Freddy. I like Freddy a lot in this movie. He looks great. It's like they took everything of the way he looked in the first one, tightened it up, and made it look better. And then you have the way he acts through the movie. He still has that low-lit, kind of in the shadows look for most of the movie, but then you have him really amp up fucking with Jesse through the movie. As I just mentioned, he messes with him with the whole Grady kill and that it was a possession, not a takeover, and that he took Jesse into his sister's room like he was going to have him kill her, but then that doesn't happen. He's messing with him. And then Freddy, we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a little bit, the poolside massacre. And then after that, it gets a little bit, again, we're going to talk about that too. But I like Freddy in this movie. And I have no idea how I haven't caught this in the past. But the fact that his claw isn't a glove in this movie, and that's straight up coming out of his hand, it's a great touch. It's a great look. They touch on it again in New Nightmare, but damn, I love that. As I said earlier, this movie makes a fair bit of interesting choices, and sometimes those choices really don't land, which leads us right into the bad. For my first entry in the bad column, and this might seem a little bit petty, but Mark Patton's fucking scream. Every time that happened in this movie, I was like, dude, shut the fuck up. It was like nails on a chalkboard for me. I couldn't get past it. I still can't get past it. It annoys the hell out of me. And if that's his scream, that's fine. But if they directed him to yell like that, dude, like what the hell? I would have loved to have been in that pitch meeting where they go, yeah, we got this final dude, Jesse, and every time he screams, he sounds like a little girl. And it's going to sound ridiculous. And my biggest problem with the scream is, while it is nails on a chalkboard for me, because it is, when he does scream, Mark Patton puts so much emotion and dread and helplessness and terror behind it that it is a solid effort. I believe that terror. I believe what he's putting out. But then the sound comes out and it takes me out of it. It doesn't match up in my mind. If it came out in a different way, I don't have a scream, so I'm not even going to try to do it. But it comes out almost humorous, where you have, if you took all the audio off and you watched him scream, you'd be like, oh, god damn. But you don't, and so you have these rich emotional moments that are brought down by these nails on a chalkboard. For my second entry in the bad column, it's the deadly parakeet scene. I get what they were trying to do. I get that they were trying to ramp up the edginess of the movie. But that scene in no way, shape, or form landed for me. It's a fucking parakeet. Get a broom. If you think this thing's slashing at you and it's going to try to kill you, get a broom, smack the shit out of the thing out of the sky. It's just a little parakeet. Parakeets weigh nothing. You can destroy those things by hitting them. I'm not saying that anybody should be trying to hurt any birds, but if an animal's trying to hurt you and you're fending for your life, which these people seem to think that they are, it's a pretty easy thing to defend against. And then you have this whole, poofs and flame craziness, which is fine. Like I said, it's trying to amp up all the tension. But that scene as a whole, once it started, I'm like, it's a goddamn parakeet, man. Just hit it. Knock it out. Knock it down. Put it back in the cage. Do something. For my third entry in the bad column, it's Jesse's relationship to the world. Now, when you have this first nightmare sequence, he looks like he's going to be kind of this loner kid, which is fine. I can get behind that. But then he comes out of it, and he's kind of normal. He's pretty normal. But then they start to drive home the idea that maybe he's a little bit more of an outsider, doesn't really get along with people, and he kind of clashes with other people in the school, like Grady. But then you have all the stuff with Grady, they're doing the planks and all that, and then they start to form a bond, and then he's sitting with them at lunch, but then he's still kind of like a bit of an outsider, even though Lisa's falling for him. For me, the film can't seem to decide where they want to put Jesse. Do they want him to start fitting in? Do they want to keep him on the outside? Because if they want to keep him on the outside, that's fine. Being a weird dude in high school happens. I was a weird dude in high school. But when you have this back and forth of it, it doesn't really make sense. Because when you think back to high school, at least back when I was in high school, if you were on the outs, you wouldn't really have the balls to tell this big jock, shut the hell up, Grady. You wouldn't have the balls to do that. So he has this weird confidence, even though you get this idea that he doesn't have this self-confidence because he's kind of been on the outs. Like I said, they can't really decide what they want him to be. And if that's what they were going for, they wanted Jesse to be kind of this back and forth kind of character. They succeeded, but it didn't work for me. Now it is time to get to all the ass slapping, pool party and craziness with the blood, the kills, the ugly. The first thing to note about the kills in part 2 is that in this movie, nobody dies in their dreams. The people who do die either die in the real world, like with the pool party, or they die to Jesse when he's possessed, like Grady and Coach Snyder. And on top of that, Jesse's the only one that we see dream in this movie, which is an interesting touch, but I like that because the whole story revolves around Jesse and his fight with Freddy for his soul. I get it, and I like it. Overall, I like the kills in this movie. Really, the only one that kind of sticks out is the Coach Snyder kill. But in that, you get this whole, okay, Freddy can really possess him to kill people. The way and the how is a little bit more crazy, and like I said, it has echoes of the Tina kill from the first one, but it's the first instance that we get of Jesse being possessed by Freddy to do whatever the hell Freddy wants. And I touched on it a little bit ago, but the Grady death scene is fucking gnarly. I like that kill a lot. The practicals of it, and really just the whole fucked up nature of it, because Grady doesn't know what the hell is happening. And then he gets killed, not by Freddy like we all think he is, well at least on the first watch. We all are made to believe that Freddy killed Grady. But then we all see what's really going on, and that Freddy yet again possessed Jesse to kill for him. And then, like I said before, Freddy taunts him about it. It's a great, gnarly fucking kill. But while it is such a gnarly kill, it is not my favorite of the movie. My award for favorite kill of the movie, well, it isn't one kill. It's kills. And that is the pool party massacre. On top of the general frantic craziness of the scene and seeing Freddy full-on interact with people in the real world, the concept of it I really dig, because Freddy up until this point has been, he slashes at people, but in this scene, Freddy Krueger is a full-on slasher. He slashes the shit out of a lot of people, and then, well, he throws a guy through a grill, and we get that great visual of "you're all my children now." It's a great scene because you don't see that coming. You don't see Freddy all of a sudden go on a massive killing spree, and he doesn't. This is the only time he has ever done that, where he interacts with people and kills people on a mass scale like this. Little piece of advice. If you see a dude as fucked up as Freddy Krueger coming at you, don't try to negotiate with him. Now for my final thoughts on A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. Okay, in my last review, I mentioned the idea that we don't know what happened to Nancy's mom. She could die and be absorbed into the bed. She could die when she's pulled through the window. And then I mentioned that there could be a third potential fate. In this movie, Jesse says to Lisa that Nancy's mom killed herself in the living room. The reason I think that this is actually what happened is that the final scene of Nightmare on Elm Street could very potentially be not Nancy's nightmare, could be Marge's nightmare, and that Freddy pulls her through the window and kills her in the living room, which would explain why they find her in the living room dead as shit. It would make it look like an apparent suicide, and then that's when she died. She didn't die getting pulled through the window, and she didn't die absorbed into the bed. That's when she died. She died in between these movies. It's not a confirmed kill in that one, but we get a little history on it in this one. Now that that's out of the way, I want to talk the finale of this movie, because this finale is fucking weird. After you get out of the pool party massacre, and Lisa goes after Freddy, Jesse, whatever, you have these man dogs, which that's fucking weird. I understand that they're blurring the lines of reality there, and then you have Lisa and Freddy fighting for Jesse's soul, which this whole movie's about fighting for Jesse's soul. I get that, that's fine, but in the process of that, when Lisa starts winning over Freddy kind of becomes this sniveling puss. And I don't like that. As I said before, Freddy's one of my favorite parts of this movie up until this. He's badass. He's awesome. And they kind of shit on him in this one. They do give him a gnarly death sequence. He melts, and that looks pretty sweet. Everything's on fire, and then Jesse is fine. Yay, the day is saved. But in rewatching this one, it makes a whole hell of a lot more sense why they went the direction they did with Part 3, because this one was a love story. It really was at its core, And they're like, all right, we're getting out of the love. We're going to call the next one Dream Warriors. But before we get to part 3, I enjoyed the finale of this movie after that. You get the final dream sequence that you think is a dream sequence. They head fake you a couple times, and I dug that because you're like, oh, it's going to be the same kind of ending as the first one. Oh, but then maybe it's not. And then Freddy's glove punches through Carrie's chest, and they drive off again like they did at the beginning, with Freddy laughing. I love that ending. They let you know that, no, you didn't win. There's no beating Freddy. Now, I know I mentioned Dream Warriors. The review for that is coming, so be on the lookout for that. And if this is where you're joining me on my trip through the Nightmare on Elm Street series, I just did the original, and before that, I did the entire Friday the 13th franchise. Be sure to go check that out. I'll have links to all that in the description below. And while you're down there, I have links to my Instagram and Twitter. They're both at @TheDaveCave_. I post over there when I'm not posting here, and that is going to do it for me today. Thank you so much, as always, for stopping by the Dave Cave. I will see you all for Dream Warriors, but until then, take care.